Welcome everyone for episode 2 of Singularity Syndicate webinar and podcast series. This one is titled Prompt Engineering. So I hope you're ready to become ChatGPT pros this afternoon. Before I start, I'd like to thank my friend Reina Diaz, a graduate student of entrepreneurship at CSUSB, who's helping me co-moderate this webinar. So welcome again, everyone, to Prompt Engineering. I'm your host, Naja Faisal, founder of a tech startup, Parrots Lab, and I'm an information system graduate student at CSUSB. Before relocating to the US, I had a 15-year career in Dubai, assisting prestigious brands with data-driven decisions, strategic marketing, and creative problem solving. These days, I'm deeply captivated and heavily immersed in transformative technologies like AI and Web3. And in my leisure time, I enjoy chess, hiking, and weightlifting. This webinar is brought to you by Singularity Syndicate, a mastermind group with a mission to creating technologically inclusive society by helping everyday people navigating transformative technologies shaping our future and providing a platform to discuss its implications. In today's webinar, we're going to review the fundamentals of artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about prompts in AI, and we're going to explain best practices around this topic. And then finally, we leave the floor for questions and answers. Note that most of the images used in this presentation are generated by an AI image generation tool by OpenAI called Dali 2. Feel free also to check it out and play with it. It's really cool. I'd like first to take a moment to reflect on the remarkable journey of human evolution. It took us 3 million years of genetic mutation and environmental pressures to invent language. And in my opinion, language is the catalyst for all forms of intelligence. So language is the big deal. And it took us a long time to achieve it. And after language, we had the industrial revolution. Like we started with printing press, and then the steam engine, and then followed by the telephone and electric bulb. And over 500 years, we accomplished a lot, but it was a very slow progress. Our ideas start to travel from one place to another thanks to the printing press. So the language was the beginning, the printing press was the second important invention, and this will propel a series of inventions leading to the electricity and electric bulb, and brought us to the 20th century, which is the last 100 years, which I think is the most important 100 years of the history of our civilization, where we invented electricity, nuclear energy, space exploration, personal computer, and then in 1995, internet become mainstream, and that propels a lot of technologies around it, where in the last 15 years in the 21st century, we have created e-commerce, social media, smartphones, streaming services, EVs, and finally, artificial intelligence. And I think artificial intelligence is the greatest invention, and many people think that it's going to be the last invention humanity really needs to make. And speaking of, I'd like to share with you this graph that shows the exponential growth of patents in the last years. And I think after the AI, I would be monitoring this graph very closely, because my prediction is that we will have an exponential growth even further when it comes to innovation and patents after the invention or after having artificial intelligence publicly available. So I think this graph would be very interesting to monitor in the years to come. So what is artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence is the ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. And artificial intelligence, believe it or not, is not new. So since the 1950s, when the computer was created, scientists start to envision a thinking machine that can learn and adapt and reason, and then and be as intelligent or more intelligent than human beings. And the father of computer science, Alan Turing, in the 50s created the Turing test. And this is a criterion for evaluating intelligence, followed by the perceptron, which is a artificial neural network. So this is the one that inspired the deep learning algorithms that most of modern AI is based on. So our AI systems are based on the founding theories that were created in the 50s and early 60s. And then we had the AI winter. So from the 60s all the way till the late 90s, we had nothing going on in the AI sphere. And then in this era, we call it the AI in winter because there wasn't much happening at that time, until Deep Blue managed to win the World Chess Champion. And then followed by 2011, where IBM Watson developed a natural language processing engine that won the game of Jeopardy. And this was also mind-blowing achievement, followed by AlexNet, who pioneered computer vision. And then in 2020, we have AlphaFold breakthrough in protein folding prediction, which is a major achievement in the biological in the biology sphere. And then today we're talking about GPT-4, which is a highly powerful language model revolutioning natural language processing tasks. AI systems achieve this through algorithms and models that allow them to analyze and process large amounts of data and identify patterns that can inform decisions. And this is what machine learning is. So think about it like during the AI winter that I explained before, computers were explicitly programmed to do specific tasks, where in machine learning, it's different. In machine learning, we give the algorithm large amounts of data, and then we ask it to perform intelligent tasks that humans typically can't do. And so there are three types, and very simple. I'm not trying to be very technical in this presentation, but the main task for you to understand how ChatGPT works and how artificial intelligence work in general is by three methods. One is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And supervised learning is basically you give the model you train the model with a large amount of labeled data. So there's an actual person or a team who are labeling each data with a specific label, and this label is training the algorithm on determining future labels or future predictions from that data. Where unsupervised learning, where the core of ChatGPT and large language models is based on, is unsupervised learning, whereby you give the algorithm data that is unlabeled, and then the system will try to find patterns in this data and make sure that and then come up with some conclusions. And then finally, reinforcement learning, which basically is a carrot and stick way of training algorithms. But basically, we will have a model that take actions in the environment that, and then it received kind of an update or feedback, rewards on its performance. And that's how we train. For example, a lot of robots are being trained this way. As well as game engines like chess engines and stuff, they are trained this way. Now, when it comes to ChatGPT, is trained on unsupervised mainly, but of course, there's many layers on top of that requires different forms of AI as well. So since we have all of these algorithms since the 50s, so why didn't we have AI back then? Why only now we achieved artificial intelligence? And the reason is this with this magic formula. So it turns out that algorithms alone cannot achieve artificial intelligence. And it turns out that we need high level of computational power, and we need enormous amount of data. And we only managed to achieve this recently, where computation power becomes so cheap and so cheap to acquire, which allow and then so powerful as well. So think about your mobile phone right now has more computation power than the Apollo mission to the moon. So this amount of computation power allows these algorithms to thrive. And we have the internet now that is full of data. So now we have all the ingredients to produce powerful AI systems. And that's why this technology has emerged today as being transformative and very powerful. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a type of artificial intelligence that utilizes a large language model to generate human-like text. As simple as it is, it's a large language model. So it's a machine learning model that is unsupervised learning trained on large amount of text, basically from the internet. So what's the big deal about like generating human-like text? So why we're talking about it right now, why it's so important? The reason is because language is not just a communication tool. It also plays a fundamental role in human cognition and intelligence. So it embodies all human intelligence. ChatGPT achieved 100 million users in just 2 months compared to Instagram that took 30 months, for example. So think how powerful that tool is and how people are, it's like the hottest thing right now. And for good reasons, because it's such a powerful and transformative technology that, taking the world by storm right now. So if you're new to ChatGPT, the first page that you enter is like after you enter the website and you sign up for an account, you get this page basically, which is basically a chatbot. And you can ask it to do anything you want. And, it can hold human-like conversations. It can explain to you concepts. It can brainstorm ideas. It can even generate code. So if you're a programmer or aspiring programmer, you could use it to learn and generate computer code in any language you want. It writes all types of text. It's provide excellent mental health support. It has sense of humor, and it can organize large amount of text into tables and spreadsheets. And most importantly, the text that it generates is considered original. I mean, not necessarily so it's not plagiarized. If you put it in a plagiarism detector, it will not show as plagiarized. Now that you have an idea on what artificial intelligence is and what ChatGPT is, now we can talk about prompts in AI systems. So what is a prompt? So imagine that you have a very smart robot in your house. And so prompt engineering is the art of crafting clear and concise input for that robot that will enable it to understand what you want, to understand your intentions, and provide you accurate and relevant responses. So this is what prompt engineering is. So we're trying to help the machine understand what we want and allow it to provide us accurate and relevant responses. So why this is important? This is important because it promotes effective communication with human and AI systems. And it's an interesting world we live in, where we have to learn how to interact with new entities, new smart entities called AI entities. And to do that, we need good prompts. And people with good prompts will be more effective in communicating with these AI systems. Why it's important? Also because it will increase your efficiency and accuracy when it comes to these interactions. It will save you time, basically. Instead of like spending so much time trying to get it to do what you want, if you know how to communicate with this AI system, it will improve your efficiency, and it will save you time and accuracy, and it will improve your accuracy as well. And finally, it will reduce the frustration and the confusion and the errors that you can get. So if you're interacting with it in the right way, you will be less frustrated. And I have many friends who I talk to them about ChatGPT, and they tell me, oh, it's not doing anything I wanted and stuff. And then when I start helping them on how to prompt it, now they're getting much better results. And that's basically the purpose of this presentation and why you're attending it. So what are the 10 most popular types of prompts? So there are many types of prompts. So you could ask it to generate text. So write me a paragraph about X. And then you can ask it a question, whether a personal question or a question at your work or whatever. It can advise you. It can be like a consultant for you. You can dump some text in there. Like, let's say you have a social media comments on your page. You take that text, you dump it in, and it will determine whether people have positive, negative, or neutral sentiment about your posts. And could be used in marketing a lot when it comes to social media and brand engagement on these platforms. And this can be very helpful. Number 4, text classification can classify text for you into defined categories. Like, you can dump a lot of text and it will make classifications for you. It can translate between languages, and it can translate between coding languages too. Like, if you have a text in Python, it can transform it to C++ and other things. Named entity recognition, it will recognize that, oh, this is a location, and this is a name, and this is a date. And this is also important for you to, like, sometimes you need to classify these entities. It does language modeling, it does paraphrasing, it does summarization, and it can act as a chatbot that you can talk to and hold conversations with. So what are the challenges in prompt engineering? The challenges are to balance between how specific you want the output to be and how creative you want the output to be. So the more open-ended questions you give it, the more creative your answers will get. And the more specific, the less creative it gets. And I think finding that sweet spot in the middle where the prompt is specific enough and at the same time open-ended enough to get you the results that you want is quite a skill. It's quite a skill that people would learn and master with time. And part of this presentation is really for helping you learn that skill. Also, the challenge is addressing biases and fairness. Remember, ChatGPT is trained on large amount of internet data, and internet data is not perfect. So there will be like biases, unfairness, a lot of even errors and factual errors and hallucinations, as we call them. So ChatGPT, like addressing these challenges in the prompt will be vital, important for you to get the best out of the system. And then finally, we don't have any way to evaluate and optimize the prompt quality. And this is something important for the future, to develop systems to help optimize the prompt quality as well. So now what you have been waiting for are the best practices for prompting ChatGPT, so that you can become ChatGPT Pro. Number 1, begin with the end in mind. So take some time before starting talking to ChatGPT to have a vision of what the output you want to have in your mind. Then make sure that you have clear and brief and relevant prompt. So these are the three the CBRs: clarity, brevity, and relevance. And this is like an example that you could use. And then the third one is, I think it's very important, this one I use a lot, is when like you want ChatGPT to produce you an output, and then you give it an example of that output. You say, okay, give me that, and then you give it an example of what output you wanted what output you wanted to generate. And this is helpful. Also, you could use, for example, if you have like an Excel sheet, a table with like different things, or you could copy and paste it in ChatGPT, and then it will influence the output. It will make it more relevant and more context-driven output. So sharing data as well. Now, when it comes to creative writing, and this is like really interesting because I've been working in the creative industry for a long time, and I know how important ChatGPT is for the creative process. So when it comes to creative writing, you need to blend. Creativity in essence is really blending ideas. So if you have ChatGPT, you can ask it to blend different ideas together. You will get some really creative responses. And another tip is to avoid overuse patterns. Like, let's say you dump your resume and you wanted to generate a cover letter. If you just tell it to generate cover letter, it will probably look at a very cliche, very overused pattern of cover letters and will give you that overused pattern. So that would not be so creative. However, you should optimize the prompt where you can add styles, tone of voice. We're going to talk about this in future slides. And these tone of voice, these optimization will help you avoid overused patterns and come up with a very personalized, very original material that you could use and stand out with in terms of in your work or personal life. And then finally, open-ended questions will help GPT to become more philosophical. And then, if you can add some styles to the open-ended questions, you will get some really interesting results. So just like in normal life, choosing the right words to communicate with people is important. The same applies to ChatGPT. In fact, I would argue it's more important to use the right words with ChatGPT, because when you're interacting with people can read your tone of voice, they can read your facial expressions, they can your body language. So you're communicating with people on many different dimensions, where on ChatGPT, you're only communicating with people with words. So this is back to square one when it comes to how people use language. And I think the learning about ChatGPT prompt engineering is less about the technology and more about the communication. And therefore, you need to learn like what are the differences between active and passive verbs, the emotional words that you need to use, the power words that you need to use, the sensory words. So all of these play a big role when it comes to designing a perfect prompt. And then we talked a little bit earlier about context. Context is everything if you want a personalized answer. So it's not, you cannot say, like if you ask ChatGPT to give opinion about something, it will give you a very generic response. But if you start adding context, if you give it more context about yourself, about your life, and all of this stuff, then ChatGPT will produce more personalized responses that will help, boost your productivity and give you like some valuable output that you could actually use and utilize. We talked about style and tone, and this is really important to understand that ChatGPT can write in many different styles if you tell it to. A lot of people will miss prompting ChatGPT with the right styles, and that's a missed opportunity, because every piece of text you want to create should have a style. Like, what do you want it to be? You want it to be a creative, a technical, informative, conversational. Like if you have a speech, you want to persuade people, like you have to tell it, like write this in a persuasive style. You want to tell jokes, stand-up comedy, humorous, academic, if you're writing a paper and you want it to have an academic tone or academic style, that you can use that for as well. So make sure you add the style to your prompt. And I'm also borrowing the tone of voice that we use in marketing and branding back in my advertising and marketing experience, where we always calibrate brand tone of voice, or how we want the brand to sound. Is it fun? Is it casual? Is it professional, traditional? So you need to also add some of these words to your prompt so that it will get you the results that you want in the most effective way. And then those who are into education, they know about Bloom's taxonomy, deals with the 6 levels of cognitive complexity, and it has action verbs associated with it. So you could use action verbs like analyze, evaluate, right? In prompts to encourage ChatGPT to generate responses that demonstrate higher order of thinking skills. And I mentioned like some of my favorite words to use in different areas. This is another interesting thing to learn from. It's or to employ in your ChatGPT experience, is the use of emotions. And there's a very interesting emotion wheel, or wheel of emotion, by a scientist called Plutchik. And he maps out all of the human emotions in this beautiful wheel, and the intersections between these emotions. So if you haven't seen this, this is great, really. Like it helped me a lot understand emotions as well, like as a human being. But also you could employ this in ChatGPT. You could say, okay, I want an emotional specific content. So for example, write me a joyful and surprising short story. And now ChatGPT knows what kind of emotions you want this story to portray. You could also analyze emotions, whereby you identify the emotions evoked in this passage. So you could ask ChatGPT to identify emotions in that area. You could also create contrast of emotions. You could say, describe a situation transitioning from anger to acceptance. And this is really interesting. You will be surprised what you get from these kind of responses. It will also enhance empathy. So you could tell it, as a therapist, and we're going to talk about simulate an expert in the coming slides, but you can say, as a therapist, help me or help a client understand their overwhelming sadness. So this is also like, you're eliciting emotional understanding and emotional empathy. And then finally, emotional storytelling. So you could also specify what kind of emotions you want in your short story. You can say, write a story starting with trust, experiencing fear, and ending in hope. And you can imagine like how powerful that is. Like you can specify what kind of story you want ChatGPT to produce. And this is going to be a game changer in the amount of, the quality of written text is going to be on the internet is going to be fabulous, especially if people employ these kind of tactics. Finally, I'm going to leave you with 11 techniques that will help you in everyday use of ChatGPT. So the first one would be simulate an expert. You can say, ChatGPT, you are a quantum physicist, and I need you to explain quantum physics in a non-scientific terms. Or you can say, you are a lawyer, and explain to me this. Or so you can give ChatGPT a title, and then it will help you. It will impersonate this title, and it will give you like pretty relevant responses. You could also do something really interesting, which is challenge the conventional narrative. So you could ask ChatGPT to discuss, for example, the positive aspects of procrastination. So procrastination is generally considered as a negative thing, but then when you ask it to discuss positive aspects, you will get really interesting responses. Unconventional and open-ended prompts. For example, how would an extraterrestrial being solve climate change? And that's also like, in terms of creativity and the answers you'll get, it will be surprised. Brainstorm and explore new approaches. So you could ask it to list 10 innovative solutions to reduce plastic waste. Capture writing style and style guides. So you could say, write a paragraph in the style of, William Shakespeare or Ernest Hemingway. And number 6, incorporate human written techniques. Example, like follow these steps to argue for AI ethics in the workplace. And then multiple perspectives. Describe the benefits of remote work from an employer's point of view. And this is really interesting as well, like to really, sometimes we lack empathy. We need to see what other people think about certain things, so we can have ChatGPT to do that. And then different styles or tones. You could ask it, like, write a satirical piece of importance on the importance of coffee in modern society, right? So, and then you could ask it for varied formats, like create a mind map for improving public transportation. Specific purpose or goal, write a persuasive essay advocating for renewable energy. And again, we're talking about like the future of propaganda. So that's why it's very dangerous weapon, because ChatGPT could produce on the fly a lot of text that will influence others, especially if used on social media and in the media in general. And then the last tip would be experimentation and innovation. An example would be compose a poem using only AI generated phrases. And yeah, so that's basically it. Thank you again for your time, and I am open for questions, and please feel free to reach out to me. I know there's a handful of links to reach out, but just choose which one that you like to connect. And I'm hoping that you will get more involved in this, in the mission of Singularity Syndicate, and why we're creating this group, and why it's important for everyday people to understand the nature of these transformative technologies and really discuss its implications. So I welcome all of your inputs and involvement if you want to be part of this group. Thank you so much, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Naja, for that presentation. It was awesome. All the tips, I think I'm going to use them very often. We got some good comments. For example, from Lacey, I can tell you how excited I am when I saw this event this morning. And thank you for your passion, and some other good comments saying thank you. We have a question from Sabrina. She asked how original it would be if you draw it from Fed data. I'm guessing Fed is federal data,
No,
right?
no, I think it's, the Fed data that we feed it
Correct.
data, and then
Oh,
the question is like how original would be the answer. I think ChatGPT has learned from a large corpus of internet data. Now the originality is, of course, now we have to explain what is original. Like if someone comes up with a new idea, are they really coming up with a new idea, or is just a combination of different ideas in their back of their head? So it's original in the sense that this same text has not been found in exactly the same format or in the same exact wording of that text has not been found on the internet before. So you're not stealing someone's actual text. So that's the originality part. But in terms of ideas, I think it's hard to find like what does original ideas mean really for humans before then asking about AI ideas. Hope that
Thank you.
answers the question.
It does. And I have one quick follow-up question. And so thank you. So let's say I'm a therapist and I ask a question that's rather basic, and then another therapist randomly from somewhere else asks a very similar question. Would the output be the same or similar?
Interesting. So if you're talking about the exact prompt, because I tried it the other day. So if you put the exact question multiple times, it will give you a similar response, but not exactly the same. I think they programmed it in a way that, every time because remember, it also remembers the context. So it will remember what you have mentioned before that exact question. But it will give you similar, but not exact wording. I think so. I mean, it would be interesting to open two windows, two chats basically, and then type in the same questions on both ends and see what happens. But that's it's cool to see if it really. But my understanding is that it will not generate exactly the same text, I think.
So in other words, it takes every question that has ever been asked by 100 million ChatGPT users, and then it tries to vary the response for each person that asks the same question?
No, I don't think so. What happens is that because what it's doing, it's not, of course, it's still learning from our interaction with it. That's for sure. So every conversation we have with ChatGPT is being stored and used to train the next version of ChatGPT. So the free version right now, the available one is 3.5. And there's GPT-4 that is also available. It's going to be, it was also launched for the premium members. So GPT-4 learned from the experience of interacting with millions of users of the GPT 3.5. But the original, let's say GPT 3.5, that's not how it generates the answer. It's not from all the people who asked it before. It generates answers based on the large corpus of data that is fed to it from the internet. So it is, I think it is maybe 300, equivalent to 300 million books that this thing has read. GPT-3, I think I'm not sure about the number, but I think it's around 300 million books. So it fed so much text, whether it's books, websites, social media, Reddit, all of this text. So that's why when you ask it a question, it will synthesize similar questions that it has seen on the internet, because it's seen so much, and it will try to devise the best answer based on the prompt. And there's like a information tree that goes on behind, like each word in the prompt will have like a tree of responses. I don't want to delve more into technicalities, but it's not only learning from our engagement with it, but also from the large corpus of data that is originally trained by it, because it's called GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. So it's a pre-trained system.
Got it. Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Naja, Martin said if you can show your style and tone slide again.
Sure.
And as you look for it, we have one comment from Eugene. He said that he's producing with someone else a game using ChatGPT, and he's asking if you could work together, like team up or something.
Absolutely. I would love to hear from you, and please connect. Let's talk about it. I'm all about that. And this is the style and tone slide.
Awesome. We have this.
Is there any
question
specific
also
questions on that slide, or you just want to have it as reference?
Okay. We have this other question. When using ChatGPT in the creative process, should you use it as a starting point or later on in the process? That's from Derek.
Sure. I think both. It can combat what we call the writer's block. So some people, like when they're trying to write something, they have like a block. It's really, there's also an anxiety when it comes to blank page. So if you want to write something and you have like a blank page, you're staring at a blank page, you feel some sort of anxiety, like you don't want to start even. So it will help with that. Like you can ask, okay, I want to write an essay today about this. And then it will give you like some ideas or outline. And then now you have a starting point, and then you can start brainstorming ideas around that. So it will help with the writer's block at the beginning to give you structure and outline. But also it can improve the text later on. Like you can write some ideas, you can add, you can say, hey, mention this, add this, improve this, give me alternative over this. So it's an iterative process that you have a very smart friend that you will work with to achieve what you want to achieve.
We have also this question from Tina. Does ChatGPT work well ingesting and deriving insights from public data sets, such as census data? Also, Igmo mentioned after, I was told that the information source has not been updated since 2019.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, does ChatGPT work well ingesting and deriving insights from public data sets, such as census data?
Oh, public data, okay. Yeah, if it was trained on this data, then it will generate whatever results from what is it trained on. However, I would be wary about the factual, like if you have high stakes, like let's say you want to use the output of ChatGPT in a court or in a medical diagnosis or anything that is high stake, I would be very careful. and I would try to double check the facts, because the problem with ChatGPT is like it will act as so confident. It will tell you this is the answer, but then if you really dig deep, and there's a term of hallucination, right? So a lot of sometimes, when it comes to factual information, I would be wary to really trust everything that ChatGPT says. I would be really careful and double check the facts if it's like really high stakes. But they are working hard on it. Like I think GPT-4 improved a lot of the hallucination problem, and it's going to continue to improve as we go. And I think Eugene has raised a hand at some point.
Yeah, I was just, is that where you're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a studio, an international studio without borders and walls, and we're producing feature films and video games. And we want to use this right now, the ChatGPT and anything related to ChatGPT, which is using artificial intelligence that we can use in our video games that use both avatars and voiceover. And we have people from around the world that are participating in it. And I want to know, how can we meld these two together,
So you're saying that you are a company that produces video games?
Video games and feature films.
Beautiful.
That behind me, Lead the Way, is a feature film that now is streaming around the world. So
awesome.
That we produced. Yeah.
So I think ChatGPT is a tremendous tool that will help a lot. I'm not, it will amplify what you can achieve in terms of creativity and productivity. So creativity, it will help your the writer's creative juices to, as we saw in the prompts, to improve your abilities to write creative works and creative stories and stuff for the films and for the games, but also the productivity of writing scripts. Because I've worked in filmmaking before, but more on the advertising side of filmmaking in my marketing career back in Dubai. So we used to produce a lot of films, and I know that the scripts that we write, we used to try to improve them to make them as catchy as possible. So I think with ChatGPT, it's going to amplify that. It's going to help bring that to life.
Yeah, the problem is there's always problems with feedback from, like, the WGA is saying now they will not accept for Academy Award consideration any project that uses artificial intelligence or ChatGPT in the writing of the material.
That is very interesting.
This is really weird.
It is weird. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're making a mistake. It's like, imagine telling people to stop using Google yeah, it's like that. I mean, I heard about companies that are banning ChatGPT or educational institution. This is definitely the wrong approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, because everything we're doing is on it's on the cutting edge that our studio is doing, and everything's a first. And when we do this, we get so much negative feedback. Yeah, it's amazing. But I think it's the future. We can't stop the future. You can't stop change.
Yeah.
That's
I think they need to change the criteria on where they evaluate people instead of asking them. And also, there's no effective way of determining whether you have actually used ChatGPT or not. I mean, OpenAI, they produced a software called the classifier, and it's not even accurate. Like, you could, I tried it. I tried to, I took a ChatGPT text and I pasted in the classifier, and I asked it, is this ChatGPT or not? And it will tell me, no, it's a human-like. It looks like this is a human-like text. So even the classifier that's built by the actual company who produced ChatGPT cannot identify the text that is produced by ChatGPT. It's just really,
Yeah, because there are people in our studio that are making characters that look so real and sound so real that people are watching and they think it's a real person acting, in the
yeah. Oh my God, these
moving in
avatars
the
are
project,
crazy.
and they're saying, no, that's real. That can't be fake. Yeah.
Interesting world we live
That's
in. Interesting world.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, for
Appreciate the
talking.
comments.
Thank you.
Reina, back to
We
you.
have a lot of questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask two. I think they're like a little related from Thomas. He said prompt engineering is one emerging career created by generative AI. What do you see as some forms of labor that are threatened by these technologies? And then afterwards, Miranda also said, is prompt engineer an actual emerging career, or is that something you are foreseeing, like as a
Right. So
following?
for the first question, we have a separate webinar coming up next, I think after 2 weeks from now, we have a webinar that is totally dedicated about jobs in the age of AI. And we're going to delve deep. We're going to talk about like what are the jobs that are going to be affected, jobs that are kind of safe, and jobs that are going to emerge as a new era of jobs. Because with every technology revolution, there's a new wave of jobs that will be created. So prompt engineering, would it be a career? It's a good question. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a career. I know that, this presentation, for example, it could be helpful if I take this presentation and I go to like companies, for example, and I say, hey, I want to give your employees a training on how to interact with AI systems to better improve the output of the work that you're doing as a company. So I would assume that this would be a valuable thing that companies would pay. So yeah, probably. I mean, if you become a trainer in prompt engineering, I would say why not? Why not? This would be a career. Yeah, I would say so.
We have another interesting question from Jermaine. What can you say about privacy? He said, I mean, if you ask it an illegal question, can you be exposed to liability? Just curious.
If you okay. Now I understood the question. So if you confessed, let's say you went to ChatGPT, you said, hey ChatGPT, I just committed a murder. I mean, no, I don't think they're gonna record and hold that against you at any point. But I cannot say anything. I don't know what's happening in the back end of these systems, whether they have anything to detect that or not, and whether. But I would say it's very unlikely that they will actually use anything you write against you. I think, imagine if you Google something on same way, like, do they really take this input on Google and try to use it against you? I don't think so. Yeah, but I cannot give you a straight answer because I really don't know what they do with this information as of now. So.
Also from Martin, he said, I wonder if it's a problem that ChatGPT uses 10 sources to provide answers. So the answer returned is the average of those, but a human with access to 10 sources would know which is the best source for a response.
Agreed. Totally. And that's the part where the factual stuff, fact checking is important. Like a lot of times I get a response and I go to Google and I try to go for like reputable sources, like, I don't know, government organizations or educational organizations to see if there's like an actual like a published stuff on that topic. However, I would say that ChatGPT is being improved tremendously on the terms of facts. So they're trying to rank information, like whatever information that's highly factual, they're trying to rank it high so it appears more in your results. But yeah, I think that's something that we're still like it's a gray area there. We don't know 100% if it's something factual or not.
There's discussions going on here about how ChatGPT could replace jobs, basically, or something, this revolutionary tool, basically, that would be doing this. Let me see. I think, well, from Danny, I did have a question though. It's my first time being around with ChatGPT, but what exactly are the common technologies used behind this?
Yeah, I think we touched upon this when we talked about machine learning. So if you go back in here, right. So yeah, so the technology behind ChatGPT is artificial intelligence machine learning, which basically is an unsupervised learning. So we give it a large corpus of internet data, and there's algorithms that try to derive patterns from this data. And then, so this is the technology behind it. And then, you know, with substantial amount of computational power and substantial amount of data and algorithms of machine learning, we can get something like ChatGPT, which is, again, it's a word predictor. So it's basically, you know, when you're writing an email in Gmail and it will continue the sentence for you, it's basically a fancy version of that. It's like a big, powerful version of that autocomplete kind of system that understands the context and then predict the second word and the second sentence and paragraph and so forth.
Awesome. Also, Lacey asked an open question for everyone, but I think you can answer this as well. She said, can we list in the comments ways you are all using ChatGPT? So I think this is very related to the uses, right? Like how
Yeah,
can you use
for sure. I would say, you know, what would be nice if you guys have joined the meetup group, right? So we have a meetup group. It would be nice in the discussion forum in that meetup group, or maybe if we want to use a Twitter for that, so that we can actually share interesting prompts and interesting use cases of ChatGPT. I'm personally sharing that on Twitter, so feel free to follow and engage with me there, and LinkedIn as well.
Also from Martin, he said, if you wish to access ChatGPT on the iPhone, what is a good app to use?
So there's no mobile app as of yet from the actual source, OpenAI. They only have a website. So basically you go to your web browser and you sign up for an account and you use it on a web browser. There are other apps, but mostly they are going to be paid, that are implementing ChatGPT as a paid app version. So until ChatGPT opens up and created their own app, we don't have an app right now for free.
So we had another similar question before. He said, of exact responses, if the user profile can be used to customize the responses.
Say that again.
The user profile can be used to customize the responses. I think it's very related to like taking data from somewhere.
Yeah. So basically you could customize the response based on your own data by feeding it some data, like give it context. So for example, a very typical example would be your resume. Like you could copy and paste your resume and tell it, oh, create a cover letter for this resume. And now it's creating something from the resume information that's personalized to you. And it will also give you like what are jobs that you should be applying for example, based on the experience you have. So there's a lot of use cases like that.
Right. There's a good example, as you were saying earlier, about making your cover letters creative and original. Thomas said, I use it to draft letters of recommendation, email drafts, event descriptions, my kids, and I use it to make bedtime stories. And then Diana said, after I did too, it would help me draft emails to my bosses and make them really powerful, but then it got blocked in my organization.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting use cases. I think it's a transformative technology. That's why we're here, really. That's why we are doing this because the nature of this technology is unlike any other. And I think the public or the people or the everyday people who have, there are going to be two classes in society: those who have ChatGPT and who are connected to AI, and those who aren't. And I think the gap between these two people is going to widen and widen, because in the future, like, we will be connected constantly with AI systems, and those who aren't will be left behind, unfortunately.
Eric mentioned, I went to download the app for ChatGPT last night, and it appears there are multiple apps to access it. Is there one that's the best?
Yeah, so that's, as I said, the reason why you're seeing multiple apps is that because there's no app. So there's no official app from OpenAI released yet. So the only way to access ChatGPT is not through an app, but through the website, which is you go to openai.com, I think, and then there's a mention about ChatGPT, or you can just simply Google ChatGPT and then click on the link that is coming from OpenAI, and that's when you will access ChatGPT.
Awesome. I think we went all over the questions in the chat. I don't know if someone will also want to jump in and ask a question to Naja.
Yes, I have a question. So, Naja, what's your offering? I'm a little unclear. You have this website, you have Meetup. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Because I would like to be part of that movement.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Basically, I'm heavily immersed in AI, and I'm a student I'm doing my graduate studies in information systems. And earlier this year, I started an AI-powered startup, and we are pursuing VC funding for that startup. And I've been building a lot of communities around my interests, basically. So I created Coyote Hikers, which is a hiking group where every 2 weeks we just explore a different mountain. And this group has grown tremendously. We have like 550 members right now. I'm also, I have a community around chess, which is a game that I love to play. So we also meet every Tuesday at 5, and we have over-the-board games and chess. And part of these communities that I'm building is Singularity Syndicate, this community. And I would love to have people helping and contributing to that community. And the mission of it is really, I'm only trying to be useful. Like, I feel that I know some. I don't claim I know a lot. I just know something about AI, and I feel that it's important for the public to also know that. It's important for the people to leverage and benefit. And basically, my goal is to really spread and raise awareness on these technologies and make sure that we all have equal access and equal equity in benefiting from it. So please, if you'd like to get involved, please reach out to me, and I would love to hear from you.
Guys, JJ here.
Is there any more questions, or you want to follow up, Sabrina?
No, that's good. Thank you. That was super helpful. I do have one question, but I don't want to take up everyone's time, and I want to make sure that others have an opportunity to ask.
Go ahead. If you still have a question, go ahead.
Yeah, one question. So there's the free version of ChatGPT and then the paid version. What's the difference? What would be the benefit to getting the paid version?
Yeah, so the paid version will give you access to the GPT-4, which is the latest update on GPT. So at the moment, the free version will offer you GPT 3.5. The paid version, which is $20 a month, it will offer you GPT-4, will give you a peak access. So in peak hours where the system is very slow, it will give you priority. And yeah, all of the new features, they will be released for the paid version first. So that's basically the difference. But GPT 3.5 is still tremendously powerful as well. Like I don't think there's a huge difference.
Penis.
But yeah, that's basically what are the differences so far.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So this is now it's already 12. We appreciate all of your time, and we respect all the time that's being spent with me here on this webinar. And as I said, would love to hear from you on a personal level. Please feel free to reach out to me, and have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Naja. Have a good day, everyone.
Mm-hmm.